All right, this is something that people get wrong all the time when they deadlift, and it also tends to be a problem that nobody talks about in the deadlift because the issue shows up specifically during what should be the easiest portion of the deadlift. Fortunately, this error is relatively simple to fix. There's nothing fancy, there's nothing complicated here, although it may be a little bit counterintuitive to some, and fixing it makes for a more efficient deadlift, a more comfortable deadlift even, which is always nice. The problem has to do with trying to have a vertical back when you should not actually have a vertical back. Now, we've already talked about this problem in the ascent, and then we'll link to a video on this below. But that's the problem of when you're starting the deadlift, if you try to have a vertical back right away. In other words, if you try to lift your chest and make your torso, make your back angle vertical right away, you end up pulling around your knees, right? You get this curved bar path. It's a longer bar path because your knees are an obstacle for that bar path that makes for a tougher deadlift, a weaker deadlift, a more inefficient deadlift, and it's uncomfortable on the back as well. This is a similar problem that we're talking about today, but specifically this is the problem on the descent. This has to do with trying to keep your back vertical, correct? Because it's already vertical at the top of the deadlift. So this is the problem of trying to keep your back vertical as long as possible on the descent, and again, your knees pose an obstacle. It's uncomfortable, it's inefficient, it's a longer bar path, and you end up setting the bar down in the wrong spot. In other words, not over the middle of your foot where you want it. All of this means wasted energy on the descent, it means being uncomfortable on the descent, and it means now that the bar is on the floor, wasted energy getting the bar back into the right position before you perform your next rep. On a side note, when you commit this error, you end up kind of unfortunately looking like you're trying to find a toilet in the dark before something unfortunate happens. So for a number of reasons, let's fix this error. Now, make no mistake, we are very interested in the knees not posing an obstacle to the bar path on the descent, but the knees will absolutely bend. They're not going to be locked, they just can't pose an obstacle to the bar. Lowering a deadlift, especially let's say the first half of lowering a deadlift, is about 99% bending over from the hips. So let's give you a couple cues that can help with this issue. Cue number one, and this is involved when we teach the deadlift right away, we simply cue you to reach back with your hips and point your chest down at the floor. So hips back, chest down. That's a real useful cue. Cue number two, and this is a little bit of an over cue, and this is very similar to the first one, but instead of hips back, chest down, you can use the cue knees back, chest down. We're not actually interested in your knees going backwards, but we are darn interested in making sure that the knees don't go forward and get in the way of the bar. So we are over cueing the knees to get back when all we really need them to do is simply stay back. So knees back, chest down. Cue number three, you'll remember that earlier I said lowering the deadlift, especially the first half of lowering the deadlift, in other words, until the bar passes the knees, is about 99% all about bending over from the hips. So you can simply use that cue. When you're setting down the deadlift, just remind yourself, bend over. You want to bend over to set the bar down. Your back will still be straight, it's just not going to be vertical, and that is okay. That's a productive thing. Cue number four, you all know how to bow, so simply cue yourself, bow to the floor. Remind yourself as you're about to set the bar down, bow to the floor. Cue number five, and you can really use this cue in conjunction with any of the previous cues, but you can remind yourself that as you're setting the bar down, so you can tell yourself hips back, chest down, or knees back, chest down, or bend over, or bow to the floor. But as you do so, as you start that process, you can cue yourself to look down at the middle of your foot. In other words, you are giving the bar a target. Your goal is to set the bar down right over the middle of your foot. And you can't find the middle of your foot. You can't see the middle of your foot if you're trying to keep your torso, if you're trying to keep your back vertical. So if you cue yourself to look down at the middle of your foot, you will be forcing yourself to bend over when you're setting the bar down. So the cue here in this case would simply be look down at the middle of your foot. You could even cue yourself look down to set it down. Remember, you don't have to look down right away. It's not like you have to be standing there at the top of the deadlift looking down at the middle of your foot. That's not what we're necessarily interested in. It might be hard to see the middle of your foot. You may have a stomach in the way as an obstacle, but as you start that process, as you start to bend over, as you force yourself to find the middle of your foot, you will be bending over to do so, and you'll be able to find the middle of your foot. So hope these cues help you get stronger and live better.